Hello and welcome to our Monday Night Bible Study. We are on the 16th week of the book of James. I thought we were going to finish up chapter 4 tonight, but we are not going to finish up chapter 4 tonight. I did warn you. I feel like I warned you last week that we're going to go not through as many verses tonight. We're going to get through 2. It's just how it goes sometimes. Just because, I pretend that I'm going to go short on one so that I'll have time for the next one. But generally what happens is I just ramble for hours. James chapter 4, verse 11, do not speak evil against one another, brothers. The one who speaks against a brother or judges his brother speaks evil against the law and judges the law. But if you judge the law, you're not a doer of the law, but a judge. There's only one lawgiver and judge, he who is able to save and destroy. But who are you to judge your neighbor? Do not speak evil against one another, brothers. The one who speaks against a brother or judges his brother speaks evil against the law and judges the law. But if you judge the law, you are not a doer of the law, but a judge. Once again, we are back to the power of the tongue, the proper use of our language and communication. Just like today, just like it is in, look, and I know this is focused on the church, and it should be, and that's what the focus is, but this will apply to work. It'll apply to family. It applies to extended family. It applies to people that go to the gym. Those are weird people. But there are people in the world. There are people in the world that will pay somebody else to go to their place and pick up heavy things. Seems odd. Anyway, there are also people in the world that pay memberships to go lift heavy things, but then don't ever actually go to those places. Not speaking from experience. But this applies to all aspects of our life. People like to talk bad about one another. We know that we're supposed to speak the truth in love. We know that we're not supposed to speak in rivalry. We know that we're not supposed to be critical. We know that we're not supposed to do these things. And yet we do them anyway. And I don't really understand. Well, I do understand because it's human nature. But we make excuses for ourselves. Socrates, probably, there's a filter that is commonly attributed to Socrates. It says, is it true? When you think about saying anything, first thing, is it true? Obviously, this should be the least controversial thing. You don't want to say things that are not true. Now, we can discuss, how do you know something is true? Do you know something to be true because you saw it? Do you know something to be true because you heard someone say it? Or do you know something to be true because somebody else told you about something that they saw or something that they heard? Do you know when you overhear somebody say something, do you know the context of why they were saying it? Do you understand what they were saying when they said it? Do you understand why they said it? Do you understand who they were talking about? Do you understand everything about the conversation that was going on? Or do we just hear a snippet of something and then we believe the snippet that we hear to be true? Do I believe it to be true because I really like the person that told me something? If I like you and you come and tell me something, I'm apt to believe what you say because I like you, not really judging whether or not the thing that you tell me is true. Or do I believe something to be true because I don't like the person that you are telling me the story about? If I don't like somebody and I hear something bad about them, I'm like, yep, that's just like them. They're bad to do that. I've been trying to tell people for years they need to stay away from that fella because he is rough around the edges. He's a bad fella. If I already don't like a neighbor, if I already don't like somebody, if I already have bad feelings against a brother, against a sister, against a coworker, it's easy for me to believe something bad about them. And it's difficult to talk about because sometimes what I think about somebody matters more than what actually is true. If I hear something, if I hear a rumor, let's just pretend that I hear a rumor that Ada Bell is stealing money from the bank. Ada Bell's a bank robber. She's been sneaking off, robbing banks. And it doesn't sound true, but I don't like Ada Bell. And it just sounds like something she would do. And then I find out later that she wasn't robbing banks after all. Sure enough, she was telling the truth. She wasn't robbing the banks. It doesn't matter to me whether or not it was true, because it's just something she would do. And I know she didn't do that. I know they accused her of that, but she didn't do it. I know he didn't actually say that, but that just sounds like something he would say. You know him. You know how he is. You know how he acts. You know how he talks. That just really sounds like something he would do. And so even things that we know to be untrue, we can hold against people because we think that it is something that they would do if they had a chance to do. Truth, in a lot of situations, truth does not matter, does not have as much impact on a circumstance as we like to believe that it does. A man could be convicted of a dozen murders and get caught with the gun and the heads of his victims in his car, right? And somewhere his mom is going to say, he's a good boy, he would never do anything like that, because she loves him. By the same token, it can be demonstrated that somebody didn't do a thing that they were accused of doing, and if you don't like them, it didn't matter whether or not they did it. What matters is they were accused of it, and you don't like them, and so we prejudge a situation just because we don't like somebody. So before you say something, before you use your language ability to communicate, and I say, we talk about the tongue, but current technology and current times, it's the thumbs and the typing fingers too, right? There we go, typing. Be careful of the things that you say. Before you say something, you better know that it's true. That's the first filter. If you don't know beyond a doubt that it is true, don't say it. Don't guess. Secondly, is it kind? Look, I know sometimes I have to have uncomfortable conversations with people. You have to have uncomfortable conversations with people. You have to talk to people about things that they did, things that they said, attitudes that they had, whatever. And it's not always a pleasant conversation. Here's the deal. You should have those uncomfortable conversations with them. You should never have those uncomfortable conversations about them. If you have to discuss something with somebody that may be sensitive, that could end up hurting their feelings, could be something that they're not going to want to hear, discuss it with them. Don't go talk to somebody else about it. Don't go talk to somebody else so that they can tell you how right you are, so that they can tell you how they can't believe people treat you this way, so they can't believe you're not even more offended than you are. You should be offended. You should be hurt. You should be angry. When we tell people things, even if they're true, see this kind part, it is past the first filter. So we know beyond all doubt this is 100% true. This is not about spreading falsehood, right? Everybody should know, don't lie about people. That should be a relatively basic thing when we talk about being good Christians. Don't tell lies about folk. But even if it's true, if you tell me something about a third person and it causes me to think poorly of that third person, and I can't do anything about it, all you've done is sow discord and distrust between me and somebody else. If it doesn't cause somebody to think well about someone else, if it causes them to think poorly about somebody else, then that probably is a conversation that should not happen. If I have something that I need to talk to you about, I'll come talk to you about it. You can come talk to me about it. We don't need to go talk to a third person about what one of us has done, because I'm just adding to an already existing problem. So one of two things is going to happen. If I come to you and tell you how mean Gertie Mae is, it doesn't matter if you, and it's true, right? Gertie Mae was mean to me. She walked up to me and she had been eating crawfish and she had all that spice on her finger and she poked me right in the eye. And it burned for 2 days and it was horrible. It was the meanest thing anybody's ever done to me. And I had to wear an eye patch and I looked like a little fat pirate and people was making fun of me. And so instead of going and talking to her, I come talk to you and I say, can you believe Gertie Mae did that? If you don't know Gertie Mae, you're going to be mad at Gertie Mae anyway because you like me. If you know her and you already don't like her, you're going to be even angrier because you're going to say, that's just like her. They were mean to me too. And then me and you can sit around and commiserate about how we don't like Gertie Mae. And we can bring a whole group of people in and talk about how Gertie Mae pokes people in the eye and makes them wear eye patches. And we're not helping. It's true, but it's not kind. It's not helpful. Therefore, don't say it. Thirdly, is it necessary? It's true. Probably it's unkind, but even if is there a reason for you to say it? Do you need to say it? And secondarily, this is 3 and 3A. Do you need to say it right now? There are some things that, first of all, don't need to be said. It ain't none of your business. It ain't none of my business. Just make this part of your face right here, don't make noise. Just keep your lips together. Hum a good Christian song. Some things don't need to be said. Some things may need to be said, but they don't need to be said right now. There are times when, if someone is not in danger, someone is not actively doing something that is going to harm them, harm other people, hurt them, you don't have to correct everything. You don't have to be You don't have to show off all the time. If there's not a danger or an immediate problem, maybe, just maybe, wait for a more opportune time to make suggestions. We have a tendency to want to be performative in our conversation. I want to make sure that everybody else knows how smart I am, or how quick-witted I am, or how intelligent I am, and how wise I am, and how I know how to do all this stuff. And I want to make sure that I correct you and that I show you the right thing to do, or that I'm going to stand up for myself and I'm not going to let anybody walk all over me, and I'm going to be a big man. I want to make sure that everybody else can see this. And so I do something and I say something, and it might be true, but I say it at the wrong time. And I end up causing pain and causing harm and causing hurt that I can't fix because I was unable to filter this through whether or not what I was going to say is going to be necessary. It's not only, however, all of this is true. And all of this is true in the workplace and in school and wherever you go. All of these things are true. This is a universal rule. But for us in church, for us that are children of the Lord, it's not just that we're hurting somebody else. It's that we're making a judgment on the law. And when I speak evil of you, when I'm deciding, I'm not only deciding whether or not we're following the law, I'm deciding whether or not that law is correct and right. And then I'm not a doer of the law, I'm not a follower of the law, but I have become a judge. I've set myself up and become an author of the law. Romans says, therefore you have no excuse, O man, every one of you who judges. For in passing judgment on another, you condemn yourself, because you, the judge, practice the very same things. So when I speak evil of somebody, when I say that you're doing something wrong, when I say that you're not doing it right, when I say that you're a bad person, that you're the devil, that you're mean, that you're whatever I say about you, I'm making a judgment. I'm saying that what you did was wrong, not just incorrect, but it was morally wrong. So I've opened myself up, first of all, to the same judgment as the one I have judged, because the Lord is pretty good about making sure that those scales balance out. And I've also begun to write the law. Just because I think I've got a good excuse for something, just because I think I'm justified in being a gossip, doesn't mean I get to judge somebody else for being a gossip. Because everybody thinks they've got a good excuse. Everybody has their own set of justifications. Everybody thinks that they have a good reason for breaking the law. But when I stand in judgment of somebody, when I've decided that I know the reason that they broke the law, that I know this, that I am judging them, I'm judging their character, I'm judging their morals, I'm not following the law, I'm writing the law. When I have then become the judge rather than the servant. I'm not a doer of the law. I've lifted myself up to the position of being the author of the law, and only God gets to be the judge. It's a bad thing to stand in God's spot. It's not my job to write. It's my God to obey. Because here's the thing. When you sit on God's throne and you pass judgment from God's throne in that way, there are things that happen that you don't get to control. Hesiod. This is a cool quote that I found when I was studying this. Hesiod says, gossip is mischievous, light and easy to raise, but grievous to bear, hard to get rid of. No gossip ever dies away entirely. If many people voice it, it too is a kind of divinity. We actually can raise, when we sit on the throne of God, we can raise our proclamations, the things that we say. I can infect you with something that can follow Gertie May and her descendants. I know people that because their grandparents got into a fight with another set of grandparents, these two families don't like each other. It has nothing to do with the people, but both sets of families, both families will say, you know how they are. Boy, you know who his daddy is. You know who his grandpa was. You know who his grandma was. You know how they are. You can't trust them. You can't be in business with them. They'll lie to you. They'll gossip about you. They'll steal from you. You better watch out. They're very unstable. That family is unstable. It matters how we treat people. It matters the seeds we sow. It matters the things that we say, because we're planting seeds that are going to grow into the lives of generations to come. There's only one lawgiver and judge, he who is able to save and destroy. But who are you to judge your neighbor? When we judge one another, when we decide for ourselves what the rules should be and whether or not somebody else lives up to my standards, then I have placed myself in a dangerous position. I have taken that responsibility to me. I've decided that I'm the ultimate authority. So now, instead of looking to God and looking to the Word of God to see what He says, I'm basing my decisions on what's best for me. And this type of inward thinking, this type of selfishness is no different than Eve in the garden, where the serpent comes to her and says, you get to decide what's good and evil. You get to decide what's right and wrong. You sit in God's chair for a little while. And if you sit in God's chair long enough, it gets comfortable. And the more time I spend up there, the less likely I'm going to be willing to move. And the less likely I'm going to be able to be convinced that that is where I am. Because it's real comfortable sitting around telling everybody else how they should treat me and what they should think about me and how they should honor me and how they should be focused on me, because I've lifted myself up. In fact, most of us hear or teach a lesson like this, and we make all of our excuses as to why we're right, and God just agrees with us anyway. We've spent so much time writing our own laws and writing our own rules and writing our own expectations that we're no longer willing to follow His. But it's okay. I'm sure God's going to understand. I'm sure He's going to look at me and think, you know what? You was right. Some of this stuff I wasn't right about, but boy, Ray Copeland, I sure am glad that you came along and corrected me. I sure am glad that you showed me the error of my ways. I feel like we should examine ourselves, honestly. And we should always examine ourselves. We should spend the end of every day and say, look, what did I do wrong today? What could I do better tomorrow? What opportunities did I miss? Where was I selfish? How could I have loved better? All of these things. See if I'm still walking in the right direction. See if I'm still working for the right reason. See if I'm still saying the right things and treating one another and loving my neighbor as myself, whether or not they annoy me, whether or not they talk about me, whether or not they hate me. If they talk bad about me, it's better that I pray for them than to talk bad about them. In fact, Jesus tells us to do good to them that do evil to us. This is even a step further. This is not praying for someone that gossips about you. This is buying somebody's dinner after they poke you in the eye with their crawfish fingers. This is doing good things for people that do bad things to you. Look for ways to bless people that curse you. Look for ways to lift people up that try to tear you down. Love people that hate you. This is what it is to be Christian, and that's the goal. And here's the good news. We're all going to fail. We're all going to mess that up. But I got to stop treating my failures to do this, my failure to obey the command of God, as like a little oopsie and a little character flaw, and you just know how I am. It's sinful. It's sinful for me not to love my neighbor as myself. The good news is God can forgive me of that. God wants me to be like him. God wants me to grow every day to be just a little bit more like him. God, show me where the weaknesses are. Show me what I need to shore up. Show me the things that I need to do to be better, to be a better Christian, to better serve you, and let God form me into what he wants me to be. Because that's what God will do. It. All of this is not to criticize, not to give us a feeling of hopelessness and despair, but it's to show us where we fall short, and so that we know what we need to do to be more like him. Anyway, I'm not going to promise it's going to get better next week. But, the good news is there's not that many chapters left in James. Lord bless you. I love you. God loves you. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you next week.